eSports got a huge focus here at Gamelab 2016, and that's why we are lucky to have Peter Moore with us. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So during your speech, you've been talking about making every player a star.
Yes.
How do you achieve that?
Well, I think I was going to say it's simple, but it isn't. It starts at the bottom. It starts about giving every player who wants to play, no matter their skill level, a fun environment, a safe environment. Matchmaking is very important so that you don't get demotivated very quickly and don't come back. And providing venues, whether they're online or in the dormitory of your college or your school, and providing you the opportunities to play at whatever level you feel comfortable. And then ultimately, as we think about competitive gaming, that those big, glamorous, glitzy arena events that we all see and watch on Twitch, and those are aspirational. You say in your dreams, I want to be there, I want to play for one of the top teams, I want to play League of Legends or Dota 2 or CSGO or hopefully FIFA or Madden or Battlefield. No different than real sports. And the analogy that I use, and I always use, is I'm from Liverpool, and as a kid in, the 60s, when I was a little boy, kicked a ball around, probably like you do, and thinking about Barcelona or Real Madrid or Atletico, and you aspire to be one day that player. And it's a dream. And for 99.9% of us, it'll never happen, but we dream. And that's what we want. We want to keep that dream alive. We want to be able to provide environments where people are having fun and they feel like a star. They absolutely feel like a star.
So that's also about passion, of course. How and when do you think esports passion can be equal to traditional sports, maybe in mainstream, not just for the players?
Well, many would argue that to a demographic coming up right now, let's call them millennial, primarily males, but also females, that we're already there. That 131 million people in some way participated in esports, either by playing or watching in the last quarter, in the last 90 days. Numbers are staggering. And as a result, I think if you talk to them, they would say, yeah, maybe I like real football, but I also love to watch the best FIFA players play on Twitch, because that's closer to what I can do and what I can be and what I want to be. And so from that perspective, I think for that consumer, if you ask that player, he's already there or she's already there. In reality, billions of people watch football or basketball or American football. The Olympics are coming up in Rio. Ultimately, hundreds of millions, billions of people will watch. But at the same time, what's important to understand is that the generation that's coming up is now looking at esports in the same way that my generation and even your generation looked at real sports, or traditional sports as you call it. So we may be there.
So getting into specifics, what is EA doing in terms of, you've mentioned matchmaking, what are you doing in terms of infrastructure, services? How are you facing all these?
Well, what we need to do, both as ourselves at EA and the industry, is exactly, you've got to build infrastructure. You have to make sure the games have integrity, so anti-cheating mechanisms. You've got to make sure the games are fun and that people stay with them. Matchmaking, get there. If you're so much better than me at FIFA, you're going to beat me every time, I'm going to stop playing. But if I can beat, I don't mind getting beat. I just don't want to get beat every time. At the same time that players will tell you winning all the time is boring as well, right? So you've got to get that matchmaking right. And the analogy again I'll use is football. When I played in England, I played at a decent level, but nothing special. But we were well matched. And
which position did you play?
Right fullback. Number 2. In those days, positions had numbers, not like today. And it was a big deal for me. And you know what? There might have been 10 men and a dog watching us play, but we were well matched. Games were 2-1. I remember them like it was yesterday. And it was so much fun. And it was such an important part of my life. And was it full-time professional football? No. Was it important to me? And did I feel like I was a star? You bet I did. And that's what we've got to do for esports.
But of course, in order to support all this, you need tools, you need infrastructure, you need services, and you need to work with the game creators as well. How are you doing that?
Well, it starts with the game creators themselves, our development teams, all of whom at EA are incredibly excited about the opportunity that esports provides them. You need to build modes in there. And our games right now, we're not in denial. A lot of our games need a lot of features built in, to catch up with what gamers are now looking for, and to the credit of what Riot and Valve have done over many, many years, have built games, purpose-built to be games that you would play as esports games almost in their entirety. Congratulations to Activision and Blizzard on what they've done recently. In particular, we look at Overwatch as maybe one of these games going forward here that is the future, that it also feels like it's been built with esports primarily in mind. I prefer to call this competitive gaming because I think sports can be confusing. And our top sports games, they're fun to do, and they're a very important part of competitive gaming. But we've got a lot of work to do with FIFA and Madden and NHL to make them true competitive gaming games. So when we think about what we need to do, you're exactly right. You've got to build the matchmaking platforms and anti-cheating, which sits at the platform level. You've got to have modes, spectator mode. You've got to be able to share your great results. Games have to have, built into the games, leaderboards, ladders, tournaments, so that you're not going out of game to the web to look at it. You want to look at it in-game. All of that needs to be done. The modes themselves need to have clear winners and losers. They need to be fun to watch. They need, you tighten up the map so that, you can go find people to play against pretty quickly. All of this stuff we need to do. It's well underway, but it's not happening overnight. And my point to a lot of the questions in there is, look, this is still young. We're learning, right? This is, and again, living in America, I'll use Super Bowl as an analogy. We're on Super Bowl 51 coming up, but the first few Super Bowls didn't fill out the attendance in the stadium. Stadiums didn't sell out. We're at Super Bowl 2 or 3 in competitive gaming right now.
Yeah, when the press are learning as well about all these sports things, we have to learn. So you mentioned frustration and levels. For that, I'm guessing you're keeping in mind some sort of tiers for different and different events as well.
Yes. So think of it, again, I think of it in terms of football, and think about if I was playing FIFA and we had 28 tiers, I'd be in tier 28. But I would be playing similar players in the same tier that I would think of it about promotion and relegation. And boy, wouldn't it be great if I went 12-4 this year, 12 wins, 4 losses, and got promoted to level 27. And so you need to show progression, right? And you need to have this goal. It's a pretty simple goal. I want to get one division up to the same way you do in football. I want to get one division up and play against slightly better players, and that's going to challenge me more. And there's all those things that we can do in esports, but it begins with having you match made at the same level as like-minded players so you don't get frustrated. But then you need a progression pass all the way up the pyramid till one day you can dream, you can squint and see that big arena and that you can be playing for those players.
And that's at the top. At the top, we can expect major finals events from you as well.
Major final events from us called the EA Majors. Major prize money. I spoke on stage of Madden having $1 million prize pool this coming season, which is very important. Why is it important? Well, first of all, I think it shows how serious competitive gaming is, and we are about competitive gaming. But as well, I also talked about, I started off with the dedication it takes to be a traditional sports player, no different than the dedication it takes to be a traditional competitive gaming player at this point. And so you need to be able to, A, say, boy, I'm going to do it because there might be $1 million in it for me. But also you need to say, well, there's prize money available that will help me, clear my operating costs, my rent, my food, my car, so that I can focus on FIFA or Madden or Battlefield.
On Battlefield itself, you mentioned Activision eSports. You congratulate them. There's the World League for that game, for Call of Duty, of course. Is Battlefield 1 ready for esports? And are you planning any sort of World League for that type of games?
So Battlefield 1 has esports in mind, but one of the great things about our Battlefield series is they last years. And I spoke on stage about millions of people still playing Battlefield 4. And Battlefield 4 could be at its best ever right now with the modes we have in there. Look, we had a rocky start with Battlefield 4, but it's never been better. And so many people enjoy playing some of the modes we have in there competitively. The thing you will see with Battlefield 1 is, yes, it will have stuff, but we will continue to refresh that game over the coming years with a view to how do we make it more competitive gaming friendly. And more to announce on that in the future, but that is the beauty of having online play. Not only the fact you and I can play each other if you're here in Spain and I'm in the US, but we can update the game and we can deliver new content and new modes very quickly and very easily.
So do you think it's also affecting the game development itself, and perhaps the annual release of this type of games, both sports games and FPSs, that's going to change because of eSports?
I don't know if it's going to change. I think people still feel that they love an annual FIFA. They love an annual Madden. Our bigger games, of course, are not annual. Our Battlefields are typically 3 years apart. They're big games. But, you know, there's always been a desire for sports gamers to have a new game that coincides with the new season. What is different, though, is been how we kept those games live. 6, 7 years ago, you got FIFA, and we would update it a little bit, but you know, there wasn't a day-to-day like we have now reflection of what's going on in the world of real football. We have a team, a very large team in Vancouver, Canada, that all they do is look at what we need to do to deliver everything that's going on in real football in the world of FIFA every day. Team of the week, team of the season. Messi announces he's no longer wants to play internationally for Argentina. That needs to be reflected. How do we bring that to life for the FIFA gamer? What does that mean for us? So when we look at that, games are turning very much into live services, sports games in particular, because whilst you have a Battlefield, not much happening in World War I right now, because it happened. You have a FIFA or a Madden, a ton of stuff goes on every single day, and it's our job and our goal to deliver that to the players and make everything feel fresh.
Of course, FIFA is huge here in Spain. So you say like we can expect more updates, live services, but keeping the yearly release for FIFA at least. So for FIFA specifically, for it to turn into a really huge esports as well here in Spain and in the rest of Europe, do you think the local events are key to these, and how are you approaching this? Because of course you learn a lot with Madden, but now I'm guessing you want to bring that to FIFA in Europe.
Absolutely, and the one thing we've learned is that we need to have more regular competitions. We need to have feeder systems feeding all the way up ultimately to the FIFA Interactive World Cup. We need to make sure that we have something going on every weekend that feels that the more you play, the better chance you have getting to the live tournaments and ultimately to those World Cup finals. It'll be what you'll see from us, and we're about to announce this in the coming weeks, is a stepping up of the scale, stepping up of the prize money, stepping up of the cadence of events, because typically in the past it's been, okay, we're all get excited about FIFA Interactive World Cup, but it maybe was a couple of months and then there were finals and off we go. No, this has got to happen 12 months a year. There's got to be more events in more countries. We've got to go to live events in studios and do stuff like that. So more to come on that, more to announce, but FIFA is a very important part of our plans for competitive gaming. And right now, in my mind, it's probably the number one because of the global reach of what we need to do and the best opportunity for us.
Closing one, more personal one. I met you like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Besides esports, how do you think industry has changed? And personally, what has it been for you to go from COO to CCO?
Well, the industry's changed enormously since we last spoke in Leipzig. If you'd have asked me even 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, were we going to have yet another powerful growth cycle in consoles? I might have been a little nervous in saying yes because we weren't sure. But as we sit here today and we look month on month versus the last cycle of Xbox 360 and PS3 versus where we are with Xbox One and PS4, we're up 49% cycle on cycle. I mean, the growth numbers have been spectacular. People are buying more consoles, playing more games, spending more time with gaming. And that becomes the key, because the biggest challenge I think we've got now is we're not competing with other games, we're not competing with entertainment, we're competing for time. I mean, our games are so live and so immersive that people, in particular, we talk about FIFA, that people are saying, I could play this 24 hours a day, right? And what do I have to give up to not play FIFA? Well, sleep, work, I mean, things like that. So it's come along so much. And whilst online gaming, when you and I last met, was there, it's nothing like it is today. Nothing like it is today. So I think that's a huge boost for the industry.
So you're embracing the new model, like mid-generation updates for hardware as well?
Not only embracing it, I think we may have invented it. So, I mean, as regards our ability to deliver, I don't think anybody delivers content across a broader depth of genres and games and platforms and geographies than EA.
Thank you for your time, Peter.
My pleasure. Thank you.